In this video, I want to talk about the reality of skateboard culture, creating skate content, and how it affects our mental health. Next month will be 5 years of making skate-related content here on YouTube, and I want to stop and share some things that I've learned along the way. What has been done and what hasn't been done on a skateboard is the foundation of how we progress as a collective. But comparing yourself to your best self now or previously can really hinder skaters. This can really keep skaters from having fun, and in my personal opinion, it's like why you start skating in the first place, to have fun. This is especially true in professional skating because that internal pressure can really stop us from doing more. We focus so much on the ABDs and the NBDs, and ultimately it puts a limit to our creative ability, which just makes us not want to skate at all. A good example of this is outside of skating. You can think of musicians, for example. Our favorite bands, a lot of our favorite bands, their first album is the best album that they ever make, and then everything after that is really just trying to meet the expectations that they had set up for themselves, which hinders any kind of authentic process from happening. Another thing that I think really messes with skateboarders' mental health and just kind of puts us into a dark place is injuries in general. You know, we're very active people, we're always outside, whether it be riding the bike or skating. Most recently, I actually broke my hand and I had to have hand surgery. Took me out for a while, and it really did mess with my mental health. My whole routine had to change. I was no longer getting the exercise that I was getting during the whole time that I was skating. My whole lifestyle essentially changed. Most of my friends were out skating and I just couldn't go out and skate. So it's one of those things that I don't think we talk about very often. It's just when you're out and you're injured, when you're not skating. Heading over to the spot right now. Essentially, when you're injured, you don't have the ability to get all the exercise and all those things that skateboarding comes with, all the benefits that it comes with. Running out of breath while trying to talk and ride my bike. So we'll dive some more into this topic of injuries. And I got a couple other things I want to mention about kind of the dark side of skateboarding. Made it down to my little DIY spot. If you're curious on the spot and you don't know, this is something I'm building. It's a whole series on my YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed to see the build of this DIY spot I'm working on. There's a new obstacle right over here. So something else that skaters have to deal with, not just YouTube skaters, but I think this one pertains more to content creator skaters, is performance ruining your mental health. I've personally seen a lot of YouTube skaters recently calling the quits on YouTube, and I don't think it's just due to creative burnout. I think a lot of it actually has to do with performance and mental health. While skateboarding has a lot to do with the individual progression, this can be fun at times. It can also be pretty toxic at a certain point. I've seen some of the best skaters quit because of this. When your performance becomes part of your skateboarding, it not only takes you out of the flow state, it creates an internal problem. You poison the very thing that once brought you relief. Skateboarding itself can be very therapeutic. It's not the solution to all your mental health. I grew up in skateboarding culture, and talking about your feelings was pretty taboo. It wasn't accepted by my peers or even my own family, to be honest. It wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I started to seek out professional help from a therapist. I started to learn a lot about why I felt and acted the way that I did up until that point. Throughout this process, I started to identify who I was, but more importantly, I started to become a more authentic version of who I am today, through vulnerability and honesty. It's not easy, and I still go to therapy now, but I no longer carry the weight of things I didn't know existed before doing the work with my therapist. That's why I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, BetterHelp. BetterHelp connects you with a therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. First, go to their website. You can use my link, betterhelp.com/ZackDowdy. You answer a few questions, and BetterHelp will match you to a professional who has years of experience helping people with struggles just like yours. You can do it all from your phone, your computer, via phone, video chat, or messaging, however you feel most comfortable. I do it from my own car sometimes before I go skate at the skate park inside my car. No problem at all. It's the easiest possible way to start talking to a therapist. You'll be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours, so you can get started pretty fast. So let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist that can support you, all from the comfort of your own home or from the comfort of your car or the DIY spot where you're alone. Go to betterhelp.com/ZackDowdy or just go to betterhelp.com and enter the code ZackDowdy for a special discount. It's been a fun day just biking around, talking about skateboarding, talking about burnout, talking about the dark side of skateboarding. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this video. So to me, skateboarding and filming goes hand in hand. So obviously you can say, hey, just don't film and don't put all this performance expectations on yourself and you'll have a good time, which is very, very true. I think it's just hard sometimes because I always want to go back and film a clip if I get a new trick, for example. I do have some friends that don't film and don't have social media or anything like that, and I would actually argue they're the most like core skateboarders, even more than like professional skateboarders or anything like that, because obviously professional skateboarders have to film. That's part of the job. However, skateboarding and filming go hand in hand for me. Like the majority of skaters who grew up watching skateboard videos, whether at home or at the local skate shop, documenting skateboarding is a big part of what makes it so special. It's the foundation of where skateboarding came from and where it's at today. We get to see what other people are capable of, and at the same time get to share our own experiences like this video right now. It's a way to express our progression or even see what we're doing wrong with a specific trick, giving us insight on how to improve. It creates a lot of self-inflicted pressure to constantly share and exploit the very thing that we do for fun. It's nearly impossible to have a career within skateboarding if you don't film. I'm personally in a really good position, lucky position, privileged position to where I don't have to depend on YouTube or skateboarding to pay for my bill. I have a job that depends on other skills but gives me the time and flexibility to enjoy skating. That's not to say I don't want to make YouTube videos full time. At this point with my YouTube channel, I honestly do have a lot of creative burnout right now. I enjoy making DIY skate videos, talking about product, or doing trick tutorials, but all that stuff can be taxing when it's expected by others and not enjoyed by myself. If I only make videos for what other people like, then I'll stop wanting to make videos altogether. That's what I've realized. I enjoy creating films like this one, even though I know it won't perform great. There are skaters that can make daily videos somehow, like my friend Dan, who I recently interviewed and asked him how does he avoid being burnt out while making skate videos every single day. How do you not get burnt out on skating?
You have to keep in check what exactly you're doing and when you're doing it. So for my job, I make YouTube videos. I put out 7 videos a week, so that's a lot of skating and filming other people.
Is there any point where you're just like, you know what, I need to take like time away? Or how do you keep that like motivation to even get out and try?
I feel like I feel like I have like a advantage in the fact that I think this is gonna sound like silly and like maybe kind of flexy, but like I think I like love skateboarding more than other people do. Like I think I'm overly obsessed with riding a skateboard. I don't. Skateboarding culture is fine. I'm not against it. Skating with friends is fine. I like skating with people, but I prefer to skate alone. I need to do that at least 2 or 3 days a week for like a couple hours. And I think it's because I started skating by myself too. Like I'm very much obsessed with the feeling of riding a skateboard.
It's fair to say that you just never get burnt?
I don't think I've ever been sick of skating once in my life. My body's been like, you got to stop, and then like that makes me stop. But I've always been like, I get sick of filming YouTube videos sometimes. Like sometimes I'm just like, oh dude, I just want to go skate today.
For this next chapter in this video, I want to talk about social anxiety. Recently I was here at this spot, Shred Mountain, actually filming what was a pretty important day. But before we get into all that, the act of skateboarding itself is a pretty individualistic thing, but a lot of skateboarding happens at these very social environments like this skate spot, for example. I'll get into it in a second. What recently went down here is pretty cool. But skate parks, for example, local skate shops, going to skate contests or going on tours and traveling, like all of these things are really cool, special things that I enjoy about skateboarding, but they are a very social part of skateboarding. Now, I've talked about social anxiety in the past and I've gotten better at managing it, but there are certain moments where I just have to accept it and have to embrace it, and there's not much that I can really do. And that's why I came to this specific spot to talk about it, because recently I was invited to film Blockhead Skateboard's 60th anniversary. It was a very intimate setting where I was filming legends like Jeremy Ray, Kristen Seatek, Omar Hassan, Jamie Thomas, and plenty of other skateboard legends. I've been in this environment a few times. I shot a Tony Hawk commercial about a year ago that was a similar experience that was very intimate. Tony is a super nice guy, but still, it's Tony Hawk. During my teenage years, I had posters on my wall of these guys that I'm responsible for filming. It's a privilege, but on the other hand, because I tend to be an introvert, it's very uncomfortable. Now, this pressure is self-inflicted yet again, and maybe as a grown-ass man idolizing the other grown man, it seems silly for anyone who doesn't skateboard and just doesn't understand, but this is my personal reality. I don't think it's purely fear of judgment more than it's just me wanting to respect these people, and sometimes that can be a fine line to walk. I won't go too much further into just social anxiety in general, but I think it is one of those things that does bring some doom and gloom to skateboarders, and it is a little bit of a dark side of skating that we often don't talk about. Like, you'd be surprised, some of the best contest skaters might be socially awkward and have social anxiety. Like, even Yudo is probably one of the best contest skaters, but doesn't seem like the type of person that's going to be like super social, maybe with some alcohol involved. That's the case. I personally don't drink, so that barrier exist for me. Now, the last chapter of this video, I do want to talk about something that I recently kind of discovered and sort of started to realize is just from my perspective of being a content creator, YouTuber, call it whatever you want, someone that makes videos and puts them out there for public scrutiny, is just the difference in between negative comments and troll comments. Because I think naturally as humans, negativity just sparks our emotions higher than positivity. I mean, look at the news, look at anything on social media. Essentially, it's like really polarizing, and that's the stuff that gets the most engagement because it triggers emotion. So I think that's the first thing to understand. Like, no matter who you are, how thick-skinned you are, like, to me, I think negativity is always going to have this like gravity pull on you, but it's about understanding it versus just like trying to always just combat it and listen to it. Sometimes it is just white noise. For example, making videos like this one, I have to be vulnerable, and the reality is that this opens me up for being judged from people that don't know me at all. This bleeds into the stigma of YouTube skaters in general, but I think the idea of YouTube skaters is slowly dying. And just to mention, Brad Comer is actually my favorite YouTube skater right now. This video in itself was actually inspired by Brad Comer's videos. I also enjoy just like putting out these videos so that other people can feel like they're not alone in these experiences, because I know I'm not the only one that has these thoughts. But back to the positive and negative and troll comments. I think there's a difference between troll commenting and negative commenting. Negative comments typically come from someone that follows me or gets some type of satisfaction from the videos that I make. Might not necessarily agree with me or the thing that I'm saying in the said video. I see this as an opportunity to gain perspective outside of my own. Now, the big difference is troll comments. Typically, these comments come from someone that's using the internet as free therapy. A lot of the time, I think they're just deflecting their own insecurities. These are comments that I try to ignore. Even though they grab my attention, I have to remember to stay on course. However, I do think this takes a toll on skaters' mental health, especially skaters that don't do YouTube content like this one, for example, because I'm so used to it at a point. I talked about this with my friend Spencer Newsy before, and it's just like we're so used to getting hate that it's kind of normalized and doesn't affect us as much. But like, I don't know, traditional skateboarders, for example, they get like a couple of negative things on a video or their Instagram or whatever, and they want to take it away. And I understand why, but I just want to let you know that there's a big difference between troll and negative comments. Negative comments can typically have some sort of benefit from them. Troll commenting is just someone that's like deflecting. Essentially, that's what I'm getting at. This video, I've tried to balance the negative and the positive. I understand that sometimes watching these kind of videos or watching someone like me complain, which it may seem like complaining. I just want to say that, like, ultimately, the goal is just to give you some insight of what I've been going through recently and to just kind of talk about this channel in general. I think I've gotten a little burnt out recently. I'm not really sure what the future holds. I'm definitely going to be doing more DIY stuff and making videos, but for me, I'm just pulling back a little bit. And I think sometimes you have to pull back instead of like keep digging, especially when you're a creative person, which I think I tend to be. I want to find inspiration, and lately I have been lacking a little inspiration. This is the only video that I had in mind. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to put out there everything that I'm feeling lately. And yeah, this is kind of the dark side of skateboarding. I hope you guys enjoy this video. Hit the like button, even though it's more of a negative video. That's okay. Not everything needs to be a positive. And yeah, enjoy, get out there, get outside. Radical acceptance, be kind to one another, MASH.